Super Bowl 58 is upon us, and we've got a threesome on the huddle today as our boy Ryan Hoag joins us. We talk about the crazy line movement this game has seen, some of the biggest mismatches on the field, some deep MVP looks, and I bring some Super Bowl trivia to the boys as well. Time to huddle. Let's go. That's right, everybody. It is time for Super Bowl 58. Welcome to the huddle, the first of two Super Bowl spectacular shows that we've got here, and the first of two shows that we've got our boy Ryan Hoag. It is me, Andrew Avery Ninja, here with Tony Farmer and Ryan Hoag. What is up, boys?
How we doing? We've got a big couple weeks coming up here, fellas. I'm excited.
Happy to be here as always.
Before Niners in the Super Bowl, so that music is warranted. Before we start anything, though, quick thoughts, Tony, start with you on Conference Championship weekend.
Man, we watched some good football. I mean, the NFC Championship game, what more can you say? The greatest comeback in NFC Championship game history. Brock Purdy lit it up in the second half. As a 49er fan, that was, of course, fun to watch. On the other side, in the AFC, why didn't the Ravens run the ball more? You've got a team that is vulnerable against the run, and Gus Edwards was just invisible in that game. And just so from a play calling perspective, I think the Ravens didn't really handle that game very well. And there's people out there saying, you know, Steve Spagnuolo forced the Ravens to be one-dimensional. And I guess maybe there's some truth to that. I'd love to hear Ryan's take on that. I'm sure he watched that game too. But you got to run the ball more against the Chiefs in that game. So that was kind of shocking and surprising to see. The other big takeaway for me, we saw two rookies, one rookie in each game, kind of blow the game for their team. The Jahmyr Gibbs fumble was pretty costly. That was really the turning point in that NFC Championship game. And then Zay Flowers, what a terrible 8 minutes or whatever that was for him, where he had the fumble, the taunting call, and then hurt his hand, apparently punching the bench or whatever he did on the sideline. And so, two rookies really struggled in the AFC and NFC Championship game. And you see that sometime in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Ryan, I'll throw it to you. Why didn't the Baltimore Ravens run the football?
Well, I think overall that game was a testament of a team that's been there before and a team that hasn't, right? I mean, you look at 5 unsportsmanlike penalties on Baltimore, 3 turnovers to 0, Baltimore to Kansas City, and then a coach in Todd Monken, my former receivers coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had never been in an AFC championship game before, a championship game in general, other than college football. It's a little different in college, especially when you're, coaching Georgia and you just have the better athletes and better team. In the pros, everybody's good. And you kind of have to punt on your initial game plan. And it just didn't look like they adjusted well. I thought that was a difference in the San Francisco game. The defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks, made some great adjustments in the second half, and that was a difference in that game. But, to Tony's point, I was disappointed that Baltimore, didn't run. And I think when they did run, they were averaging 7 yards a clip. Yet they only ran, 5 times with their running backs.
Yeah, truly, truly bizarre. NFC game, just a tale of two halves, like you alluded to. Whatever was done or said at halftime by Wilks, by Shanahan, by the team, whomever, it worked. Niners a completely different team, and as a Niners fan, I hope we get that same team that we saw in the second half. And before, I got to talk about this, Ryan, before we get into the Chiefs-Niners matchup. A couple weeks ago on the show, Tony gave us an exclusive. Now, you're familiar that Tony attended Ball State University, correct?
Go Cardinals.
Did you know that he was the mascot for a brief period of time?
Wow. No. Oh, man. I had no idea. Wow.
That is our boy Tony Farmer as the Ball State Cardinal.
That doesn't surprise me, and I had no idea actually. That's that one in the dorm room. That doesn't. Yeah, that looks about right.
That was a very brief period of time. That was literally one day. So I don't want to take too much credit for being Charlie Cardinal.
Looked like you did a bang-up job there, Tony. Let's get into the Super Bowl here. Chiefs-Niners. We've got Niners -2, total of 47. Now, we all know that myself and Tony are diehard Niners fans, but Ryan, are you rooting for the Niners? Because you've got a fellow Mr. Irrelevant, of course, that is Brock Purdy, under center for the Niners.
So 2 thoughts. Number one, whoever plays Kansas City, I'm going to cheer for. Full stop. Okay, because I'm not a Kansas City fan. But yes, I followed the Niners all year because 2 reasons. Number one, Brock Purdy, fellow Mr. Irrelevant. There's only 48 of us that have the coveted Lozman Trophy, which is instead of the Heisman Trophy, it's a person fumbling a football. And it's a very exclusive club. And then secondly, one of my best friends who I trained with and we came out the same year in the NFL draft, he works in the front office for the 49ers. So he can get me tickets anytime I want to go to a Niners game. And he'll be in Vegas with me next week. So I'm excited about that.
Well, one question I want to ask you too, why is this guy so polarizing? Why is Brock Purdy so divisive among NFL fans? You've got one faction that hates him and discredits him and, thinks he shouldn't be in the MVP conversation or whatever. And then, of course, you've got, Niners fans, et cetera, who love the guy. So why do you think that is?
All right, my biased answer here. No, go ahead, Ryan. You take it, bud.
So we live in such a comparison world now, right? Everything needs to be, I want to look at this person X and compare him to person Y. And if you do that analytically, like Brock Purdy is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. Now, if you watch the two, right, obviously you're going to say Patrick Mahomes is significantly better than Brock. Brock doesn't look the part, right? Obviously, as a 7th-round draft pick, people don't expect much out of him. He was kind of just fell into the starting quarterback job with Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt. I was actually at that game last year against Miami when he did get hurt. But what Brock does well is he plays within the system really, really well, and people want to blame him for that. Like, the system is tailor-made for an under center, drop back, play action pass quarterback, and he does that really, really well, right? He's not necessarily a spread formation, multiple receiver, shotgun, what everybody wants to see nowadays, the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jackson. He's not that guy. He's not going to wow you with Lamar Jackson catching his own pass or Patrick Mahomes dancing in the pocket for 9 seconds. But I will say, a trained eye understands that, like, his deft ability to maneuver in the pocket and sit in there and get hit. It reminds me of number 12 from the Patriots and the Bucks. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady, but I tell you, like, he's got the it factor, and that's something you can't measure. And I don't know why there's so much hate. I think it's because he's on a very talented team that they just want to discredit him. But the guy can flat out play.
Yeah, and remember, we saw similar arguments. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo never reached the Brock Purdy heights. There was never that much hype around Garoppolo, but we did see similar arguments about this is Shanahan's system and Garoppolo's actually not that good. And it looks like that turned out to be true. And I wonder if that's kind of working against Purdy. We see Garoppolo leave San Francisco, struggle really bad in Vegas, get benched. And people are like, wow, look at how good that guy looked in San Francisco. It must just be the system. I think Ryan hit the nail on the head with the pedigree, where he was drafted. I mean, if you take Trevor Lawrence's hype and where he got drafted and copy and paste Brock Purdy's production on Trevor Lawrence, I mean, we nonstop be talking about this guy. Oh, he's the next best thing, et cetera. So I think that's working against him as well. I also think there's some ignorance out there, honestly. And this is a biased 49er fan talking, but I think there's a lot of people who haven't watched a lot of Brock Purdy games that are assuming he's throwing checkdowns. And that's just not the case. And so, that's a big piece of it too.
Want to talk about the odds here real quick. And Tony, I'll start with you and then I'll follow up with you, Ryan. But obviously, Super Bowl 58 lines officially hung on late Sunday night after the Niners put the final nail in the Lions' coffin. Tony, talk to me. There was quick action, quick line movements over the past couple of days. So what happened there?
Yeah, the line opened up with the 49ers as 2.5 point favorites and really, really quickly. I mean, I'm talking within 6 minutes, that line moved down to two and then eventually settled at one at most shops. It was still at 1.5 for a while. Yesterday, midday, there was a release from a really respected pick service out there. And within 20 minutes of their release, which was on the 49ers, by the way, we saw that line go from 1.5 back up to two where it stands now. So it's mostly this time it's going to be sharp bettors. It seems like there's some sharp guys that like the 49ers, some sharp guys that like the Chiefs. And that's kind of where we stand now. It's going to be really interesting because I don't know how you guys feel. The non-sharp bettors, the Joe Public bettors in my life that I know are all on the Chiefs. I suspect this is going to be the Chiefs are going to be a very, very public side. Not to say they're not going to be a sharp and public side by the end of it, because that could happen too. But I think the public's going to mostly be on the Chiefs when this is all said and done.
In your opinion, if someone wants to bet the Niners, do we wait till closer to kickoff on Super Bowl Sunday?
I think so. I mean, my prediction right now, I think this is going to be a pick 'em. And so instead of laying a point or two, you could get a pick 'em. By the way, I'm not super confident in this prediction. A lot of things could change in the next 2 weeks. But if I was a 49er backer, I would certainly wait. And if I was a Chiefs backer, I would bet right now. I've got a big futures position on the 49ers. So I put in a little bit of a hedge bet early on the Chiefs, knowing that that's probably the best value for me at this point.
And make sure you all follow Tony on Twitter at Tony's Market Tips, or on X rather. He'll be tweeting out little tidbits of information as the line fluctuates over the next week and a half. Ryan, over to you. What do you make of this number? Currently -2, total sitting there at 47. Lots of movements since Sunday, as Tony just talked about. But what do you make of it all?
You know, when the line initially came out, I legitimately thought it was a mistake. And then I did some digging into why that number might be the way it is. And I noticed that, prior to the playoffs, the Chiefs were 5-5 in their last 10 games. Obviously, they have really no running game, at least they don't rely on it, right? I think Pacheco in the last 10 games of the year went for over 100 yards once. You look at the game without being a trained eye, you just watch, okay, Ravens outgained the Chiefs in the last week. It was a one score game despite a 3 turnover disparity, right? So, and then I look at the Niners, and they were 7-2 the last 9 games after their bye, really 7-1 because the Rams game, week 18, I don't necessarily count because they sat a lot of their starters. And, so from those analytics, I thought, okay, well, I guess I see why the money line might be on for the Niners. And then I did some digging, and because I absolutely think the Chiefs are going to win, and it is going to be more than a 1-score game. I'm confident of that. I've always believed, and I said it earlier on the show weeks ago, who's got the better defense, who's got the better quarterback. Generally, that's going to lead you to victory. And as much as I love Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes is one of one right now, and there's nobody on his level. But of the last 9 games that the Niners played, let me tell you the defensive rankings of the teams that they played. So starting after the bye week, right? They had 3 losses in a row. They had a bye week. The 3 losses, they had a bunch of injuries, but they finally got healthy. Jaguars, number 22. Bucks, 23. Seahawks, 20. Eagles, 28. Seahawks again, number 30. Cardinals, 25. Ravens, that's the one loss, number 6. Commanders, 32. Rams, 19. That was a loss, but it was that week 18. And then in the playoffs, Packers and Lions are 17 and 19. They haven't faced a top 15 defense with the exception of the Ravens, and the Ravens really put it on them in that game. The one thing that I've noticed is that Brock Purdy, when he's playing confident, he plays really well. And I didn't see him play confident in the playoff game against the Packers and in the game against the Ravens. And really, even the first half against the Lions, I didn't think he played that confidently. I think the Chiefs, because they could cover They have multiple guys. I think they have the best cover corners in the league in terms of Snead and McDuffie. I really think they're going to have to out game plan, and it's really hard to out game plan Andy Reid. And I know we'll get into that coaching battle later on, but I just like the Chiefs in a double-digit win.
Don't like the way that sounds, Tony.
Yeah, I think Ryan brings up a lot of really good points. One thing he didn't mention, that if I want to give a Chiefs argument right now, the kicker situation. The 49ers rookie kicker, Jake Moody, scares me big time. And you've got one of the best kickers in the league, one of the best playoff kickers probably of all time, and Harrison Butker on the other side for the Chiefs. And Vegas is telling us it's going to be a close game, though Ryan may disagree with that. Vegas is telling us it's going to be a close game. If it is a close game, I mean, Andrew, how are you going to feel if this comes down to a 43-yard field goal for the win from Jake Moody with 6 seconds on the clock or something like that?
Riddled with anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that scares me. So that's a huge advantage for the Chiefs that I think a lot of people aren't talking about. I think Ryan brings up a lot of good points. The big counter argument, though, for the Niners is that run game. Christian McCaffrey's averaging 6.1 yards per carry the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season, and the Chiefs are not good against the run. And so if the 49ers can do what we all agree the Ravens should have done, I think that they're going to be in a really good place in this game if Christian McCaffrey can rip off those yards. The problem is for the 49ers that they're also allowing over 6 yards per carry the last 3 weeks on defense. And so Pacheco, he's kind of a bully the way this guy runs. Like, he runs hard. He runs people over. The 49ers have two of the hardest hitting linebackers in the league in Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. And if they can punch him in the mouth early on and kind of stifle that Chiefs running game and make them one-dimensional while the 49ers are running the ball, I think the 49ers could look really, really good in this game. So this is one of those games where honestly wouldn't be surprised either way. I mean, if the Chiefs won by 10, 49ers win by 10, close game, I'm going to go toward close game, Niners winning a close game, but nothing would really shock me here, honestly.
So the Ravens have those similar linebackers, right? Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen, and I thought they might be able to hit Pacheco and others in the mouth, and they weren't able.
Fair point. Yeah, really good point, for sure. For sure. I really do think this game, though, is going to come down to those running games. Everybody wants to talk about Purdy and Mahomes because it's fun to talk about, and obviously those guys are going to be a huge factor in this game. But low-key, I think the running game is going to be, for both teams, is what's going to decide this one.
Speaking of those guys, Purdy and Mahomes, I want to talk MVP markets real quick. But before that, Tony, anything on the injury front that bettors at home should know about? It feels like it's going to be pretty good on that front, but anything you're seeing?
Yeah, the two more serious things would be Amenahu, the Chiefs defensive end. They rotate their defensive ends quite a bit, but he's got 6 or 7 sacks on the year. So that's a very big depth rotational piece for them that they're going to lose. Former 49er, by the way. So that would have been a cool revenge angle game for him. He's going to be out. And then Willie Gay, the Chiefs linebacker, who's an above average linebacker. He's solid. He's decent against the run. He didn't play in the AFC Championship game, but I think a lot of people were surprised he didn't play. It's a neck injury, and so that's one of those where it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if he only missed one game, or that could be a serious injury, and the Chiefs are kind of downplaying it right now. So we'll definitely want to keep an eye on Willie Gay's practice habits leading up to this game. On the 49ers side, they're pretty clean injury-wise. I mean, there's some minor stuff. Looks like Kittle's got a little toe thing. McCaffrey kind of landed on his neck, but they're all saying they're going to be fine for this game. So it's really Willie Gay is the injury to monitor. And, you can always have injuries during practice, too, leading up to the Super Bowl. So keep an eye on that.
Yeah, always keep an eye on the news from beat writers and whatnot. And in that Super Bowl 58 MVP odds board, obviously QB's 1 and 2, but it's weird, or maybe it's not. I don't know. Is it weird that Mahomes is the favorite, Brock Purdy's next up, considering the Niners are 2-point faves in this one?
It's interesting. I think there's a little bit of disrespect for Brock Purdy here. Listen, I get it. Nobody would be shocked if Christian McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel or even George Kittle won the Super Bowl MVP. So when you've got more weapons on offense, of course, it decreases the likelihood that the quarterback's going to be the Super Bowl MVP. But when I saw Brock Purdy come out at plus 275, As Super Bowl MVP, I immediately thought value. You're going to give me the starting quarterback on the favored team at plus 275. That seems like pretty sweet odds for me, and I think there's great value there.
Yeah, I think the only way the Niners win is if Brock Purdy has an MVP type performance. I know Christian McCaffrey certainly is in the mix there, but I really think it's going to come down to, I believe that the Chiefs are going to pressure and they're going to make Purdy, who traditionally this year has been exceptional against the blitz, they're going to make him fit in tight window throws against tight man coverage, and they're going to say, we're not going to let Christian McCaffrey, who's anytime, touchdown score guaranteed. We're going to make anybody but him beat us, and it's going to be a fascinating tale of two, great masterminds, right? And in Andy Reid and Shanahan. So I'm excited.
Let me give you fellas. Oh, go ahead. I think I was going to ask what you were about to say, Andrew. Farther down the board, is that where you were going?
Yeah. We already talked about him. I think Pacheco at plus 2,500 or wherever he is going to be a good look. But what are you guys feeling a bit further down?
I think that's a great one. I saw Pacheco at 30-1. I think that's a great look. Obviously, by the way, public service announcement. If you are betting Super Bowl MVP, shop around. I mean, during the season, you might get a half-point difference, a full-point difference. Huge difference. Some books may have guys at 25-1. Some may have them at 35-1. So shop around. But really far down the board, how about this guy, Charvarius Ward? Is it out of the realm of possibilities that this guy, who knows Patrick Mahomes, who played against Patrick Mahomes in practice, could have a Dexter Jackson type game, a Larry Brown type game, and have a couple interceptions, maybe a pick six? I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying the value is there on Charvarius Ward, and I think that that's worth a little bit of a sprinkle. He already has had a revenge game against the Chiefs last year. He didn't look good, but he had a bum groin. He wasn't even supposed to play in that game. So I'd imagine there's a lot of trash talk going on between him and his former teammates. Oh, you suck. We burned you, etc. That guy's going to be fired up to play his former team, and he knows Mahomes well. Want to go real far down the board? I like Charvarius Ward.
I could see Kelsey winning it and then retiring. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he retires after the season, regardless of what happens. But I would say you get pretty good value with Travis Kelsey. Another thing regarding the injury, Tony, question for you. Joe Thuney, their standout guard for the Chiefs. Any word on if he's going to play? Because I think he's the best guard in football. I'm curious if his strained pec is going to allow him to play.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's another one to monitor. And the guy they've got behind him, his name's escaping me right now. He's kind of a journeyman. He plays a lot of different positions on the offensive line, and it's a big drop off down from Thuney. So that whole handicap that we talked about last week, where the Ravens interior can give the Chiefs trouble, the interior of the line. We talked about it with the Lions game too, that the Lions were injured on their interior and the 49ers were able to take advantage. They got some pressure at key moments with Armstead and Hargrave. So yeah, that's going to be a big one to keep an eye on as well.
Drew Tranquill, right, who stepped up, didn't play for Willie Gay, but Willie Gay's a big time deal, by the way, and you nailed it. Like that is he runs that defense, but Drew Tranquill stepped up and played unbelievable football for the Chiefs, and he would be a person that if I just wanted to throw a $5 bet down, like for MVP, he's a guy that can be a difference maker.
I like that, especially if Gay's out. Good point. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about a contest you can find on oddshark.com. If you consider yourself a prop guru, you'll want to listen up to what I'm about to tell you. Oddshark is running a Super Bowl competition in partnership with the folks over at Better Edge. It is the ultimate Super Bowl prop pick'em contest where you can compete for cash prizes. So what you'll do is make 25 picks from Super Bowl 58 markets, from things like the spread and total all the way to something like Kittle total receptions or Brock Purdy rushing yards, who, by the way, looked like Michael Vick in the second half against the Lions. Entry deadline is Super Bowl Sunday, so picks will lock shortly before kickoff. It is $25 per entry, and there is limited space. It is up to 400 contestants, so get in quick. The top 3 will receive portions of the prize pool, with 50% going to first place, 30% going to second place, and third place getting 20%. Visit our contest page at oddshark.com to get the full details on the contest, including sign up and more today. Sign up is pretty standard. You'll enter your phone number, enter the confirmation code, update your profile information, verify your ID, add funds to your account with bank card or credit card, and join the Oddshark partnered contest. Space is limited, and I'll link to the Oddshark contest page in the description, so make sure you get that done today.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm going to be in this as well. Ryan's going to be competing as well. Former Oakland Athletics pitcher Andrew Carrigan's going to be in there. We're going to try to get some more special guests for you guys in this contest. So stay tuned, compete with us. $10,000 prize pool, assuming we max out the 400 people. So that should be a lot of fun.
We got a little Huddle exclusive as well. Tony and I do our pre-production meetings on Tuesday. Tony, you were kicking around the idea of going to Super Bowl 58. Any progress on that?
Yeah, it's on my radar. I need your guys' help. I want to discuss this with you guys. I want to discuss this with my boys because there's some pros and cons, right? If I go to the Super Bowl, I'm obviously getting one of the cheaper tickets, okay? I'm not going to be like 50-yard line, first row, dropping 50, 60 grand on a ticket or something like that. If I go, it's going to be one of the cheaper ones. So there's the experience of, do you want to be in, not the best position to watch this game, or would I rather be in a sports book? Because I'm going to Vegas either way. I'm going to be there. And then there's like the nostalgia of being able to be at a Super Bowl when your team's playing, the potential chance to be one of 60,000-ish people to witness history, which is really a big deal. Super Bowl is on my bucket list, something I've always wanted to do. I'm struggling with it. I'm really looking at like kind of how I look at bets, like I need to see value. I'll bet this at plus 130, but not plus 115 sort of thing. That's kind of how I'm looking at these prices that are Super Bowl ticket prices that are fluctuating every day. I sort of got a line where I need that number to be for me to feel comfortable with the purchase. And so, yeah, should I do it, guys?
I mean, look, I think you've got the 49ers in the Super Bowl. You're going to Vegas anyway. I don't know, man. It's a total bucket list for me. I know price is astronomical. I don't know, Ryan. Like, what do you think about this?
Well, you picked the wrong year. It's the most expensive ticket of all time.
True.
The average ticket, I think, is $11,000. I had the opportunity to go last year. I'm in a lottery through the NFL to see if I can purchase tickets at face value this year, and I haven't found out yet. We haven't found out who they're allowing to go yet. But when I went last year, I didn't have a vested interest just simply because it was two teams that I didn't have fandom for. But it was a spectacular experience. I had amazing club level seats. Like, it was like what you would hope for if you're ever going to go to a football game. The problem is, and I don't know if I'd call it a problem, but the way that the viewer can watch it from TV these days with 4K, HD, all those things. I mean, it's such a better experience to just witness it while eating food on your couch, especially when you're looking at a 5-figure, price tag, man. I mean, I think being in Vegas, whether or not you go to a sports book or wherever, I think it's going to be, an experience enough for this. I mean, we have 400,000 people coming to Vegas to celebrate this event, and I don't know. I think it's just the price tag's too much personally, but I do also think, sadly, we're 5 to 10 years away from the Super Bowl being a pay-per-view event, and I think that Goodell's moving towards that. I think they teased us a little bit with the Peacock and the first playoff game. I think they're going to end up having Super Bowl be a big time, money getter, money grab. And so if that influences you, take it for what it's worth.
Well, you raise a couple of very good points. The NFL is a totally made for broadcast event. Every game, it's tailor-made for TV. Everything is perfect. So my question to you, Tony, is, and try to answer this, without thinking about the potential of going to the Super Bowl. How do you prefer to watch a game? At the stadium, at a bar, at home with a big group, or at home alone? Like, what's your ideal viewing experience?
It's at a sports book alone. I want people around me cheering. I want that atmosphere, but I don't necessarily want, someone like yakking in my ear or what are you doing? And I'm like trying to put in a live bet and stuff like that. So I want to be able to focus for a big game like this. So yeah, that's a good question to ask a guy who's trying to make this decision. It really is.
And what about you, Ryan? Same question for you.
Well, I think Tony has to add also barefoot while eating celery and olives and pacing back and forth. That's his ideal way of watching the game. I was there to witness it. For me, unless I'm hosting somebody that's never had the opportunity to go to a stadium, like I have the opportunity because I played for so many teams to go and to basically any game during the NFL season and be in a suite. And it is an awesome experience. However, the only reason at this point in my life that I enjoy it is to gift that to somebody that's never experienced that. So for me, especially if I really like a team like Tom Brady, I followed him wherever he went. Like I wanted to be alone by myself in a room with no distractions. I don't like going to sports books if I'm actually wanting to watch because I want to hear the announcers say. I like hearing the coaching interaction with the sideline reporters. I like watching, how the receivers are responding to the sudden change in the defense at the snap of the ball, which is easy to do when you're watching on TV, easy to do if you're sitting, maybe at midfield, but, if you're in an end zone, it's a lot harder while at a game.
I'm the same, man. I got to watch the game alone. That's my preference, not because I don't like other people, but because I'm a maniac when I watch sports. Like during that Niners game, I was standing up. I was swearing at the television, like in that first half. Like I look like a maniac. Like it's insane. So I prefer to be in the comfort of my own home and free to act like that.
That resonates, Andrew. That resonates really well. And I think it does with a lot of people out there for sure.
Another thing,
it's awesome.
Ryan. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say it's awesome how sports can elicit that kind of emotion out of people, right? And really galvanize communities. It really is a special thing.
Ryan raised an interesting talking point here, Tony. So on one of Ryan's previous appearances, we talked about how you guys were in Vegas and some of the food that you opt for at the sportsbook. So I got to ask you, I'm going to ask both of you, but Tony, you first. Give me your top 4 Super Bowl snacks. What are you going for on Super Bowl Sunday?
All right, what am I going to go for on Super Bowl Sunday? I got to have some sort of a nacho would be good for sure. I need my coconut water, you guys. I got to stay hydrated. I need the electrolytes. It's important. I know most people are going to go for beer out there. I'm a coconut water guy. Nobody's going to agree with me here, but I don't care. I'm going to go apples and some sort of nut butter, perhaps an almond butter or a pecan butter. Have you guys even had pistachio butter? Do you know what you're missing out on? Pistachio butter is delicious with sliced up apples. Absolutely. That would be a good one there. And how about...
That's enough.
the day... This is the funny part. This is the funny part. The day that Ryan killed me for my snacks, I don't think he even mentioned the most egregious one. I had a seaweed snack. I had a dehydrated seaweed that I was eating that day. And I got away with one. I was like, he didn't even bring that one up. I don't know. He might not have noticed that one. Otherwise, I suspect he would have. I
try to eliminate those memories because that was an experience. For me, it's I need pizza. Like I think pizza and football are just like go hand in hand. I love the nachos, some sort of chip and dip, salsa, queso, guac. And I'm, I like a veggie tray with some ranch. That's always pretty solid. And then some sort of cookie or brownie.
In the veggie tray, are we talking carrot? Are we talking celery stalk?
What I'll tell you what, there won't be dehydrated seaweed.
Fair enough.
Or olives.
I don't want to begrudge Tony his food. I love food, but I'm on Ryan's side here. Like I'm a cliche Super Bowl eater. It's going to be pizza, it's going to be nachos, it's going to be wings, it's going to be beer. That's my vibe as well. But Tony, just incredible sliced apples, like just holding on to your youth, man.
I'm going to stab the apple slice with a fork, and I'm going to dip the whole apple with the fork into the jar, swirl it around, pull it out. Oh, that's great.
You're a double dipper, I can already tell.
If it's mine, yeah, that's why I want to be alone. I don't have to worry about other people sharing. I can just,
Trust me, man, nobody in the sports book is looking to hang with the guy that's stabbing an apple, dipping it into pecan butter, and then eating it like a lollipop. We need to...
Wait. If you see him walk in without shoes and he's got a bag of snacks, I mean, you're going to steer clear of the guy anyway. So,
bringing hobo chic to the sports book, I love it. One thing we need to talk about here, guys, is we gotta start having. I never thought we'd be at this point, but we gotta start having the Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady as greatest of all time conversation. Like, this is tough for me after having watched Brady for years, from that first season with the Pats all the way through to the end, thinking, oh my God, there's never going to be anybody as good as this guy. So through their first 6 seasons as starting QB, we got the graphic here, 3 Super Bowl rings for Tom, 2 for Patrick Mahomes, and obviously in play for 3 here. Regular season record, 72-22 to 70-24. Playoff record, 14-3 to 12-2. AFC titles, 4-3 for Mahomes. Between regular and postseason, 258 TD passes and 69 nice picks for Mahomes to 167 and 87 for Brady. Like, we've got to start, and we've got another one here as well with some potentially other statistics to bring up here as well. Like, for example, we've got Brady with 2 rings won by Adam Vinatieri. We've got a cheating scandal for Brady and none for Patty Mahomes. Friends with Taylor Swift on Patty Mahomes' side. Steve mocked this up. He's got Sookie Baby for Mahomes. And then I can't even see what the second bottom one is there.
Annoying brother.
The annoying, Jackson Mahomes obviously gets a lot of hate. And then
and the beard.
The potential beard, maybe, for Tom Brady. But on a serious note here, like, are we at this point now where Patrick Mahomes is knocking on the door?
I think it's a little premature. Like, you could definitely make a good argument that Patrick Mahomes is on pace, that if he keeps this up, he will be in that conversation as the GOAT. No doubt about it. But can Patrick Mahomes keep it up? He's not going to have the longevity that Tom Brady has. I can confidently say Patrick Mahomes, especially the way he runs around a lot more, he's not going to be playing, it's a 44 or whatever it was that Tom Brady was. The other thing with Mahomes that you got to keep in mind is that he had Tyreek Hill for a big chunk of that career, and that's going to kind of inflate your numbers a little bit. And I get it. Tom Brady had a year or two with Randy Moss. Was that 1 or 2 years with Moss? And so I get it. He had some good receivers too, but I mean, nobody liked Tyreek Hill for that long. So I think when all's said and done, Tom Brady is still going to be the GOAT even after Mahomes' career. But I get the people that want to make that argument that Mahomes could be the GOAT when it's all said and done.
So he's had, a better start to his career certainly than Tom Brady or any quarterback in the history of the NFL. And to Tony's point, right, longevity is what defines legends. And so we'll see how he does. I will say that, as polarizing as he might be, and I'm not the biggest Patrick Mahomes fan just from the outside, he does a lot of things that Tom Brady did well. And he, understands defenses better than pretty much any quarterback in the NFL. He knows exactly where to go to the ball pre-snap. He navigates the defense with his eyes and manipulates. And then he's got a great coaching relationship with Andy Reid, who's one of the best offensive minds in the history of the game, if not the best in the history of the game. So the cards are kind of out there for him to at least, be on the coattails of Tom Brady. But when, Tom Brady did it till he was 44, that's really, really special. And he really never had a drop off. And that's where I'm going to want to see, how is he going to do when he doesn't have Travis Kelce, who's, the best statistical tight end in the history of the game, right? What's going to happen if Andy Reid wins the Super Bowl this year and retires? How is he going to respond, after that? So, he does play a style where he could easily get hurt. And, Tom Brady got, missed one part of one season and that's really it. Never missed any games. So we'll see, I think in 10 years, if we have this conversation, it's a more realistic, but he's certainly on a trajectory to put his name in that same, conversation.
I think for sure. And it's the fact that we're, 6 years as a starter in the NFL into his career and we're able to have this conversation. It's a testament to how good the guy has been. But yeah, you're right. There's going to be some bumps along the road and we'll see how he responds and pivots when those come up. I want to talk about some on-field matchups here real quick. I'll start with you, Tony, and let's start at quarterback, a good segue into this. Mahomes versus Purdy. What's your take on this matchup?
Yeah, I think, really the matchup is Mahomes versus the 49ers defense and Purdy versus the Chiefs defense. But if we're just comparing these guys side by side, you got to give Mahomes the edge here. Just with the experience, all the stuff we just talked about. Such a prolific passer. He's been there before. You got Purdy, who's going to be going up against one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, who is going up against a very young quarterback who's never been in the Super Bowl before. And so got to give Mahomes the check mark here for sure.
And then head coaching, Ryan, Shanny, Andy Reid. How do you break this one down?
Yeah, really quick back to Purdy. He's never lost a playoff game that he's started and finished, which I don't think gets talked about enough. That's an amazing stat. And he's only second year in the league. He's 24 years old. Like, that's pretty incredible. He could be in the conversation someday if he keeps. He's made it to an NFC Championship game and a Super Bowl his first 2 years. Not a lot of quarterbacks can say that. Going to Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan, both have, this is a rematch, and both have experience, obviously, in Super Bowls. Kyle Shanahan, I think, is 0-2 as a head coach and assistant coach then with the Falcons, that 28-3 Tom Brady led comeback, and then Andy Reid obviously has been in a handful of them. The advantage goes to Andy Reid. Not only has he won on the biggest stage, but I think everybody around the NFL that knows football genuinely believes that he's the best coach in football, and he's a player's coach, but he really, really is technical and knows his stuff.
Tony, let's dig into the trenches real quick. Start with Niners O-line against the Chiefs D-line. How do you size that up real quick?
This one makes me kind of nervous. It's all about Chris Jones. I mean, if you watch the 49ers Super Bowl versus the Chiefs last time, a couple of years ago, everybody wants to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo's overthrow and the great job Patrick Mahomes did. All true. Chris Jones was the difference maker in that game. The 49ers had no answer for him on the interior, and he's still here, guys. And so the 49ers offensive line on the interior is maybe a little better than it was in that game. So this is this pass rush wise, this could be an advantage for the Chiefs. Run blocking wise, huge advantage for the 49ers with their zone blocking scheme.
And then Ryan, the KC offensive line against that Niners defensive line.
Really quick, I want to go back to the 49ers offensive line is not actually that great. They just have the best offensive lineman in the league in Trent Williams. Like, other than Trent Williams, It's a very pedestrian offensive line. Kansas City, on the other hand, they have their interior is one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL. I mean, right up there with Detroit, I would say. And if Joe Thuney plays, if he doesn't, then it's a little different. Obviously, they have some issues on the outside with Taylor and Smith as their tackles. That I think Taylor led the NFL in penalties, and Donovan Smith's kind of a journeyman that oftentimes needs help. Nick Bosa is going to have a big game. He's going to have multiple sacks like he did last week against Detroit. And then Chase Young, who, was kind of getting a lot of flack on Twitter in some of his effort plays last week, actually is top 5 in the playoffs for tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And that was something I was like, wow, I didn't recognize that. And, so he's going to have to set the edge really, really well to allow those linebackers to fly around. But if they're going to play man coverage and pressure, which that is Steve Spagnuolo, that's kind of his MO. They got to get to the quarterback, and so we'll see what happens.
Tony, potentially where the game could be won on the Niners side anyway, CMC against that Chiefs run defense.
Yeah, I think this is the difference in the game. I think this is why the 49ers win this game, win a close game. CMC has been running like a demon. I mean, we've seen him stiff arm guys. This guy's running like he's possessed. You can tell the way the guy plays how bad he wants it. He's scratching and clawing for every yard. It's funny to me how good Christian McCaffrey is at the goal line because he's not that big. He's not a Pacheco guy that's running people over. He's not a Gus Edwards guy. He's got a smaller frame, but he's so powerful and can squeeze through those little holes in the offensive line. I think Christian McCaffrey has a massive game. By the way, you want a prediction for me on this game? How about Christian McCaffrey with a passing touchdown in this game? We saw him do it early in his 49ers career. And there's always a trick play from the winning team in these Super Bowls. Don't rule out a CMC touchdown pass and a CMC MVP. Because if he's got a touchdown pass with a 43-yard pass with receiving yards and rushing yards, it's going to be tough not to give him the MVP at that point.
Love it. Last one, and we can pick up more of these next week as well. But Ryan, over to you. Chiefs wide receivers against Niners DBs. Neither side the most celebrated units, but anything you see there?
Yeah, the Niners have to win this battle in order for them to have a chance, I believe. To your point, the Chiefs receivers are just a bunch of guys, obviously led by a rookie in Rice. And he's done a nice job in essentially giving Patrick Mahomes another outlet other than Kelsey. And early in the season, it was just Kelsey. And if teams bracketed him, that's why the Chiefs offense kind of struggled. Now they're putting Rice kind of all over the field, whereas earlier in the season, he was just catching it outside the numbers. Now he's catching it kind of all over the place, which makes a big difference. The Niners defense, they actually played, especially secondary-wise, they played pretty well against a really talented Detroit Lions wide receiver group. And I would say that Detroit's wide receiver group is better than the Chiefs. And so they're going to have to play like that to stay in the game. But I would say I would call it a toss-up personally. The Niners really are missing their stud safety that went out with ACL early in the season. And that's been a big deal and not talked about enough, I don't think.
Yeah, good point there. Jair Brown, rookie, not playing well at the safety position for the 49ers. So he actually didn't play in the Packers game. They said it was because he was coming off an injury. I think Kyle Shanahan has trust issues with Jair Brown. It's going to be interesting to see if him or Logan Ryan start in the Super Bowl.
So that's great insight, by the way, and I'd love to pick up those conversations and more potential matchups that could be, impact the Super Bowl final score next week. But I want to get into some Super Bowl trivia with the two of you. But first, Ryan, for context, last week or maybe 2 episodes ago on the show, Tony and I talked about some sports conspiracies that have been kicked around over the years. And Tony, you brought one to my attention that I wasn't even aware of involving the Buccaneers versus Raiders Super Bowl back in the day. For the folks at home, why don't you break that one down quickly and we'll get Ryan's thoughts on that.
Yeah, so quickly, Raiders, Buccaneers Super Bowl. The theory is that this Super Bowl was essentially thrown, that Raiders coach Bill Callahan gave this game to his friend John Gruden. And there are some prominent players. Tim Brown, who has come out supporting this conspiracy theory. There's even been a defensive back for the Bucs who's come out in support of this theory as well. So you got guys on both teams who adamantly agree. And then you guys like Jerry Rice who have come out, and they're not quite saying it, but they're saying supportive things about what Tim Brown said. And so this one has some traction among former NFL players. And then the other thing I'm going to throw in there, Barrett Robbins, the Friday before the Super Bowl, was nowhere to be found. People couldn't find him. And the Raiders' game plan changed. The players are all saying they planned for a certain game plan, and then quickly that game plan changed a couple days before the game.
So Dwight Smith was the safety that for the Buccaneers. I played with him. I obviously played with Tim Brown, who both of those guys have come out and kind of made those conspiracy headlines. I had the opportunity, obviously, to get drafted by the Raiders and play with that team the following year. There was never any talk or even like a hangover of sorts of whispers in the locker room, anything like, I can't believe Coach did that. So when I saw those, years later in the news, like that was all news to me. Here's my defense of why that doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I understand Callahan had a contentious relationship with the Raiders organization and a lot of the team, and he did not get along. But like, you're looking at legendary status if you end up being a Super Bowl winning coach. And for him, for people to say like, oh, he wanted to gift it to Gruden as a middle finger to the organization, that just, to me, it's more than a stretch. And, I will say that it is rare that you would switch if you've been practicing all week to switch at the last minute. But what we don't know was Gruden filming their walkthroughs and, a whole Spygate kind of thing, and that they caught wind and they knew all the plays are going to do it. So they, we're going to kind of, pull a fast one on them since they think they're pulling a fast one on us. You just never know. And Barrett Robbins was bipolar. So that, maybe the moment got to him too much and all the things. So, I love a good conspiracy. This is not one I'm buying into.
So regardless of whether it's true or not, let me just put it out there. How have we not seen a clip of Bill Callahan being asked this question? I mean, is the guy in hiding? You got former players coming out supporting the theory, and Tim Brown and others. You'd think he'd at least be asked the question. And to me, that adds fuel to the conspiracy that a lot of people haven't even heard this theory, even though it's being talked about so heavily by some former players. And so that makes it a little more suspicious to me.
You've never met Bill Callahan. He's not a guy you're going to want to upset. That's probably why the people haven't asked, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay. So he's a little prickly then. Okay. That makes sense.
He's unpleasant.
Unapproachable. Okay. All right. I could see that.
Just to put you on the spot, Ryan, do you have any sort of sports conspiracy theories that you buy into?
Oof. Any sports conspiracy?
We kicked around.
I will say with the college football playoffs, I will say that they will do anything they can to have an SEC school in or an Alabama in because it brings more money. I think that's why they got in over Florida State. And so those are the kind of conspiracies that I would definitely buy into. I know that some of those like boxing matches back in the day, with the judging was just shady as ever, and just so they can have another thing run it back on pay-per-view and all those things. So I think those are definitely. But I would say with pro football, I don't have any conspiracy theories.
So no NFL scriptwriters.
No NFL scriptwriters. Although I think Goodell, I'm not surprised. I mean, I think they wanted the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Absolutely. Did they dictate that? No, but obviously, I think Taylor Swift has brought $350 million herself through merchandising through the NFL and for the Chiefs. So, it's good business for them to have that.
Crazy. Absolutely. No conspiracy about my Super Bowl trivia. I've got 10 questions. I've got Ryan as minus 175 to minus 200 fave here, Tony. I've got 10 questions. What we need to determine is how do we determine who gets to answer? Like, hand raise, should you slap on the face? Like, how do we determine this?
I say we just shout it out, and then we can roll back the tape and have like a photo finish type thing if we need to review the footage and see whose mouth started to open first.
I think the first question you ask Tony first.
Yeah.
And then if he gets it right, then that's his point. And if he gets it wrong, I get to. And then the second question, I'll go first. And I think that's the easiest way to do it.
Oh, okay. This is game show style. All right.
That's fair. Yep. So Tony, I'll start with you. You can't. There's no. It has to be not super quick, but like a reasonable amount of time to mull it over. So question number one. Start off easy here. Who was the last defensive player to win Super Bowl MVP?
Von Miller.
Correct. Over to Ryan. Question 2. Who was the last running back to win Super Bowl MVP?
Terrell Davis.
Wow. Yep. Nailed it. Question 3. 2 offensive players since the year 2000 have won Super Bowl MVP without scoring a touchdown. Who were they?
Hold up. Including like passing touchdowns?
Including passing touchdowns. So like factoring in any touchdown.
Okay. 2 offensive players. So it's probably not going to be a quarterback. Since 2000? Oh, you said quick. I'm going to go with Julian Edelman and Hines Ward.
Give you a half point for Edelman. Hines Ward is incorrect. He did get one the year he won it. But Ryan, who is the other?
Terrell Davis. I don't.
The other one is no, it's Deion Branch.
Yes, he had 13 catches.
So Ryan, over to you. Who are the only starting
That is sick. Ryan just knew that Deion Branch had 13 catches in the Super Bowl how many years ago? Let's just talk about that.
That's why he's the chalk here, man. That's why he's the chalk. Ryan, over to you. Who are the only 2 starting quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl with 2 different teams?
Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Correct. Tony, who is the only athlete to play in a Super Bowl and a World Series?
Deion Sanders.
Correct. Ryan, who has scored the most touchdowns in the Super Bowl career?
Was passing touchdowns in count?
No, it'd be like just getting into the end zone.
Getting into the end zone themselves. Okay, wow, that changes things. I have to go with most touchdowns scored in a Super Bowl. I mean, in all.
I don't want to put any pressure on you, but I think I know this one, Ryan.
Okay, I'm gonna go with James White.
Tony, over to you to steal.
Jerry Rice.
Correct. Tony, back to you. Who is the only QB to both throw and catch a TD pass in the Super Bowl?
Nick Foles.
Correct. Ryan, who is the youngest QB to start and win a Super Bowl?
Ooh, I know this one too. You better get it, buddy. You better get it.
Hold on. The youngest QB, Ben Roethlisberger.
Correct. Tony, who threw the most touchdown passes in one Super Bowl with 6?
Steve Young.
Correct. And then last, Ryan, Michigan has produced the most Super Bowl MVPs with 6. Tom Brady has 5 of them, but who has the other?
Super Bowl MVPs from Michigan. Well, I don't think Charles Woodson won it. Super Bowl MVPs, and this is 2000 on?
No, this is from Super Bowl 1. Brady has 5. Only one other Michigan Wolverine has 1.
Do you know it, Tony? Don't say it. Hold on.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm still thinking, though.
Let me think. Michigan. All right. Who's MVP? Larry Brown go to Michigan. Can we give? Is it in the 90s?
It was in the 90s.
I'll say Larry Brown.
Incorrect. Tony, over to you for steal.
I'm just going to say Dexter Jackson because I don't know where he went to college.
Incorrect. The correct answer is Desmond Howard.
98 or 97 Super Bowl. Return the pickup for a touchdown. Packers, Patriots.
I forgot all about his MVP. Wow, that's a good one.
Dang.
I'm going to tally up the scores real quick.
Yeah, please do. Please tally up the scores.
Tony, I believe you've got 5.5. And Ryan had 3. 5.5 to 3. So that's the underdog came out on top. Cashier underdog money line bets.
Plus money, baby.
Plus money.
Wait a minute. He did not beat me by 2.5. There's no way I only had 3.
Wait, are you alleging a conspiracy theory here? What is going on?
I think you might have beat me, but it wasn't by 2.5.
Hold on, Ryan, if you have any beef right now, it shouldn't be in the scorekeeping. It should be in the number of 49er questions that I had tossed at me.
That's true. Well, hey man, when you're one of the most successful Super Bowl franchises that there's ever been, the odds are going to be in your favor that you're going to be an answer to a great trivia question.
Good point.
I think Tony, you should come up with 10 for next week.
Okay, I like it. You guys go head to head. I like it.
Yeah, that's your prize for winning is more work.
I like it. By the way, the line is going to be set here. I'm going to go Ninja. You're a good trivia guy. You really are. So I got to go. This is no disrespect to Ryan, but I got to go minus 160 for
minus 160. Okay.
Yeah, yep,
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yep. Yeah. That was fun.
So next week on the show, we're going to go super picks heavy. Should we divvy it up? Like, do we want, one person on props? Like, how do we do it? Or do we just freestyle it?
I'm happy to take some prop bet. I'll be on props. I'll do that.
You want to stick with props?
Yep, I'm going to do props this week. Yeah, there'll be a lot of them.
Wow. Okay. We'll figure it out offline. But next week on The Huddle, Ryan will be back with us. And we're going to have a picks extravaganza. Anything you can, like exotics, game props, sides, totals, whatever. So make sure you stay tuned for that next week. Tony, Ryan, it's been a blast as always. I'm very excited about the Super Bowl. Potentially less so after Ryan was bringing some knowledge on the Kansas City Chiefs in this one and how confident he feels. But guys, have a great rest of the week, and we'll catch up next Wednesday on The Huddle.